Hello and welcome to my GW23 team selection video. It's Monday morning, so we're before the Brighton-Bournemouth game, which is on tonight. But all the players in my team have played for GW22. I'm sure you might have one or two more players left, but the game is over for me. We'll have a quick look at how I did, then look at how I'm lining up for GW23, and then some transfer plans to finish off the video. Before we start, the aim for this video is 100 likes, and also subscribe if you haven't already. We are aiming for 10,000 subs by the end of the season, so join the community if you haven't already. Let's get straight into it, guys. So going into this game week, I had high hopes for my defenders, Raya and Timber against Nottingham Forest, Chow against Wolves, Konate against Burnley, and yet again, Konate is the one to let me down. He had an awful game, but the rest of my defense did very well. Raya and Timber with the clean sheet, and then Malik Chow with a clean sheet and picking up all bonus points, even without getting DEFCON, so massive haul from him there. Happy I have held on to him up until now. But yeah, I expected more from Konate there, to be honest. Against Burnley at home, I've held on to him for so long, and then he goes and does this in this fixture, so not ideal. Onto the midfield, we have Enzo with a 6-pointer. I did Cunha to Enzo, so it kind of balanced out in the end because they both just ended up getting an assist, and I've gotten early on Enzo, so I'm happy to have him there. The rest of my midfield, absolutely shocking. Foden and Cherki. Basically, Foden starts the game, Cherki is on the bench. Foden gets subbed off at halftime for Cherki. So the worst thing that could possibly happen, they both only get 45 minutes. And then Rodgers had a really good game. I was watching it and I just thought, how has he not gotten any points yet so far? So absolutely crazy. Wilson, he had a decent game too, but no hauls from the midfield other than Enzo, and up top, no hauls at all. So actually, the only player to get a goal involvement in my team this game week was Enzo, who I transferred in. So an absolutely unreal transfer in, if you ask me. Ekitike, I swapped the captaincy off him basically with 10 minutes to go on the deadline to Haaland. Ended up making no difference whatsoever. We do all this tinkering throughout the week in FPL. I'm thinking, oh, should I captain Ekitike? What should I do here? Ends up not even mattering one bit. And then on the bench, Dubravka with a 5-pointer, Alderete and Collins with a 1-pointer each, and Mark Giu not getting any minutes. So that's how I got on, 40 points overall. Enough for a small green hour from 567k to 549k. Hopefully some high-owned FPL guys in the Brighton-Bournemouth match don't do too much damage to my rank today, but they're not the most important players in FPL. They're not super high-owned, so I think the green arrow is somewhat secured, and if not, then it's only going to be a small red arrow anyways. So let's look at how I'm lining up for game week 23. We've got Raya in nets, Yuri and Timber there, both against Man United at home, which I'm not sure how I feel about, but I think Arsenal is just such a good defence. Happy to have them in there. Collins against Nottingham Forest at home. This is why I held on to him. So one of my transfer plans last week was to do Nathan Collins to Gabriel and then bench Ray and Cherki. So obviously I should have done that for last week's points, but let's see. I held on to Collins for this fixture, so hopefully he can repay me there. And then Alderete against West Ham away. There's some decent fixtures in here, but I maybe will make a defensive transfer, so we will get on to that. Then into the midfield, we've got 4 in the midfield. Foden and Cherki against Wolves at home. Hopefully they can get more than 45 minutes each this game week. It's an amazing fixture against the worst team in the league right now, so hopefully, yeah, they can get the minutes, because this is why I've held on to them. I am slightly tempted to sell them now, but I'm not going to do it before they play Wolves at home. Hopefully they just get the minutes and my fingers will be crossed. Enzo against Crystal Palace away, not the best fixture. Wilson against Brighton at home, I don't mind that whatsoever. You will see there is some benching headaches with this team, but up front we've got Haaland against Wolves at home. Definitely my captain. I know he's not scored from open play in the past 7 or 8 games, so he has been quite poor, but Wolves at home, I expect him to do some damage. And then Ekitike against Bournemouth away. Not an easy game by any means, but I don't mind holding on to him for this game week, but he may well be on the way out. We will see. And then on the bench, Dubravka against Spurs at home, Rodgers against Newcastle away, Malik Chow against Villa at home, and then Mark Giu against Crystal Palace away. So you can see there is already some benching headaches there. Rodgers is benched against Newcastle away. That is definitely a tough fixture for any team in the league, but could he be in there ahead of Enzo, ahead of Wilson? Should Malik Chow be in there ahead of either of those guys? There's a bit of a benching headache here, and obviously I've also got Dubravka against Spurs at home, and I could just use one of the transfers to go from Mark Giu up to someone like Brian Broby, who plays West Ham away, and then just bench boost this team. That was playing on my mind, but I'll show you what my transfers are looking like. I do have 2 free transfers and 2.9 mil in the bank, so we can do an upgrade here. The first option I'm considering is just Konate to Gabriel and then roll in the other free transfer. I'll show you what that looks like on Plan FPL. So this is how I'm lining up in Game Week 23. If I was to do the Gabriel move, Konate out, in for Gabriel, I'd line up like this. I'd have triple Arsenal defense against Man United at home, which I'm not so sure how I feel about that. Like I said, Man United did look very good going forward against Man City. They had the majority of the chances. Not saying Man City defense is anywhere near the level of Arsenal, and that is why I'm tempted to go for this triple up in the Arsenal defense. The only risk is anything can happen in a game of football. Anyone can score against anyone in the Premier League, and I'd just be slightly concerned that my triple defense gets wiped completely from a little corner goal or a deflection, this, that and the other. So you can't really predict for those things, but Arsenal generally have the highest clean sheet odds every single game week, at least in the top 2 or 3, no matter who they're playing. So I think it is a high upside, high risk, high reward play that I could go for. This is how the rest of the team would look. As I said, Rodgers and Chow on the bench. Then in Game Week 24, Foden plays Spurs away, but I want that bum out of my team. I'm only holding on to him for Wolves at home. Even if he bangs, then I'm getting rid of him for Bruno Fernandes. And I do have 0.9 mil in the bank. I could leave it there, but I also think with Brentford's really tough fixtures coming up after this, Villa away, Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, Brighton at home, they do have Burnley at home in Game Week 28, but I'm not waiting that long. I think I should go ahead and get Chalobah into my team for that lovely run that they have. West Ham at home, then it's Wolves away, Leeds at home, Burnley at home. So I want a Chelsea defender in my team for that run essentially. I'll use both free transfers. In this instance, Rodgers would come on for the likes of Wilson probably, or Cherki as well. I'll have to decide next game week what to do there. But Alderete starts again against Burnley at home. The following game week, in Game Week 25, I could go for something like Ekitike to Watkins, who has a really good run from here on. Bournemouth away, Brighton at home, Leeds at home, Wolves away, Chelsea and Man United not ideal, but then it's West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Sunderland. So over a long run, they do have really nice fixtures. And I think over the past 5 game weeks, Watkins ranks second for XG. And over the past 10 game weeks, he's still ranked second for XG. So he's been getting a lot of good, high quality chances. And if that continues, I'd like to have him in my team. I'd bench Alderete for Malik Chow against Brentford at home this game week. And I'd find a way to start Harry Wilson, of course, in place of Cherki against Liverpool away. Then in Game Week 26, probably roll the free transfer here, find a way to get Chow against Spurs away in this team in place of Harry Wilson against Man City away. I'll roll the transfer, and then in Game Week 27, one of the moves that I'm considering is actually just getting in Krupi Jr. at this point, because then he plays West Ham away and then Sunderland at home. After that, it's Brentford at home, Burnley away. So a nice run of fixtures for Bournemouth players here. I'd find a way in for this team. Here we go, Malik Chow out there. And then I'd probably want to start Harry Wilson against Sunderland away. Probably Cherki again comes off the bench. I'm benching Cherki a lot in this team, so not sure how I feel about that. I may have to figure out a transfer plan for him. I do have 2 moves here, so I could look into some replacements there. Maybe another Bournemouth midfielder. But I think over the next 5 or so game weeks, I do have a nice transfer plan if I just go from Konate to Gabriel this game week. The other possibility that I could go for is to not only do Gabriel in for Konate, but also just get rid of Ekitike now and get Thiago. He plays Nottingham Forest at home this game week, so a better fixture than Bournemouth away, which Liverpool have. And then I would optimize the lineup. I'd throw Cherki in there for Rodgers, line up like this. The following game week, I'd still do Collins out and Chalobah in for that lovely run. Cherki probably starts ahead of Wilson against Spurs away. The only thing with this is that I'd have to hold on to Foden for Spurs away, and I wouldn't be able to get Bruno against Fulham at home without taking a hit. In that case, I'd take Foden out and get Bruno in the following game week when he plays Spurs at home, of course. And all this leads up to the Game Week 26 transfer that I'm very interested in. Let me show you how I'd line up here first of all. That's how the team would look in Game Week 25. And then in Game Week 26, I would do the move Chow out for Munoz. He plays Burnley at home, Wolves away, Man United at home, and then Spurs away, Leeds at home. So some really nice fixtures in there. And he's just a player that I want in my FPL team at some point. And the only way I can afford this is by downgrading Ekitike, of course, which I would do this game week. Now, my final transfer plan that I could go for is yet again to do Konate out for Gabriel. So I think no matter what, I'm going to be getting Gabriel into my team this game week. Then the move would be basically, let's get Rodgers on the bench again. It's still Ekitike out, but in this case, I just do Krupi Jr. in this game week and then bench him for one of Rodgers or Malik Chow. Then the following game week, I'd still have to hold on to Foden against Spurs away. Not the worst fixture by any means, obviously. Anyone can get after Spurs. We'll optimize the lineup. Krupi Jr. is last on the bench, but he plays Wolves away this game week, so I could bench him for Nathan Collins. And then the other thing I would do is still do Collins out for Chalobah and then find a way to get him into the squad there, of course. Krupi Jr. would start ahead of Harry Wilson in this case, but Harry Wilson would be first on the bench, of course. And then from there, in game week 25, then I'd finally get Bruno into the team and in place of Foden, of course. Malik Chow would start ahead of Alderete against Arsenal at home. Harry Wilson gets in there ahead of Turkey against Liverpool away. And in game week 26, I still do Chow out for Munoz move. So I still get Munoz in there. It's just about whether I want Thiago or Krupi Jr. in my team. Honestly, I'd probably go for the Thiago move if you were to ask me right now. But all in all, the thing with that move is that I have to wait to get Bruno Fernandes in until game week 25. It means, which is better, holding on to Foden for another game week against Spurs away. I don't mind it. We'll see how he gets on against Wolves at home. But it would mean waiting to get Bruno Fernandes into my team, which I'm not sure I want to do necessarily. So I just wonder, is it worth holding on to Ekitike for this run? I think it maybe is worth it, just so I can save the free transfer in general. It's always better to have an extra free transfer to play with, and when the decision is so close like this, I think if I can do Konate to Gabriel and then roll the free transfer, and it means I get to get Bruno Fernandes in a week earlier than my other plans, then I do think it's worth it. If the worst it means is that I have to hold on to Ekitike for his run. He doesn't have the best fixtures, but I do think I want to find a way to get Bruno Fernandes into this team. And it looks like I'll be going triple Arsenal defense. So I'll be cheering them on like those American fans. Defense, defense. I need an Arsenal clean sheet every single game week if I go for this plan. So we'll see how it goes. But that is my transfer plans for the game week. Let me know what you guys think. And also let me know your transfer dilemmas. I will be posting my game week 23 essential guide this game week. So keep a lookout for that. But that's all for today, folks. Go ahead and drop a like if you're still watching the video. And if you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate it. We are aiming for 100 likes on this video. And obviously subscribe if you haven't already. 10,000 subs is the aim for the end of the season. So join the community if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, have a good one.